Hi, my name is Lisa Meyerhofer. I play principal flute at Opera in the Ozarks. During the year, I'm also assistant principal flute and piccolo with the Omaha Symphony and principal flute of the Des Moines Symphony. Today, I'm going to be showing you some tips for working on your all-state music for this year, and I hope this helps you in your practicing. Enjoy! In this video, I'm going to be talking about the excerpt from the Aegean Festival Overture. So this excerpt comes from the middle of the piece, the slow section. It's marked andante. Typically that means kind of a casual walking pace. I would suggest a slowish tempo, somewhere around quarter note 70. It's marked pianissimo, but think of it as just soft but with a good sound still, like delicate, meditative. You're playing in unison with a variety of instruments, so you have to have really good pitch throughout, but just have a nice, secure, soft sound. So besides good pitch, focus on accurate rhythm because of all the meter changes. So work on this with your metronome set to eighth notes for a while. So in this case, if your quarter notes are 70, set your metronome to 140 so you have eighth notes throughout. You want to plan your breaths so that they don't take too long and break up the meter. You don't want to take a breath at the end of a 5/8 bar and all of a sudden your breath is so long that it sounds like a 6/8 bar. So make sure they're quick breaths, quick relaxed breaths. Really make a difference in all the dynamics, especially the gradual crescendo to fortissimo. You don't want to crescendo too soon, plan it out. So we're going from where it says sempre crescendo, by the time you get to the 7/8 bar, the end of that measure, think maybe mezzo piano. The crescendo and the 6/8 bar get to maybe mezzo forte or forte, and then you can really let go with a nice full open sound by the time you get to the high G flat on the fortissimo. This whole piece is influenced by Greek folk music and kind of ancient Greek music, so it's not really in major or minor. It's in a different kind of more ancient Greek mode or scale type. So enjoy all the unexpected pitches, like the things that don't feel like they belong. Those are the things that you should really enjoy playing. Add a little more vibrato, make them a little more soloistic. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the excerpt from Bizet's Carmen. This is one of my favorite operas and one of my favorite excerpts to play. It's just a beautiful flute solo. If you don't know what's going on in the opera at this time, it's the beginning of the third act. They're in the mountains, it's isolated, it's cool, it's crisp, just clean, quiet atmosphere, and there's this beautiful flute solo just kind of floating in the air with a harp accompanying you. That's it. So it's just gorgeous music. You might see a quarter note marked as 88 for this. That's what Bizet wrote in his part. No one really plays it that fast. It's too energetic. It's not the right mood for this. So think about it more in the 72 to 80 range. And you might have to kind of pick based on how you can breathe, what your breath support is like. And that's okay, but try to keep it more settled and more calm, whatever tempo you pick. So try to breathe only on the 2 eighth rests and right before the last slur, before you go up to the B flat. If you really need an extra breath towards the beginning, you can breathe at the end of measure 4. Just make sure you taper that B flat really nicely so you don't crash into the E flat right after that when you take your breath. So it's a solo, so you can take your time and make sure that next phrase is placed. So try not to breathe there, but if you have to, just do it really artfully. Yes, this solo is marked pianissimo, but it's a solo, so think of it as light and delicate, but you don't have to play super quiet either. Think mezzo piano, somewhere around there. Nice delicate vibrato is really helpful with this. make sure your air just keeps moving no matter what, so it's really smooth. Let the contour of the notes kind of shape some dynamics. So you're not going to get really loud or anything, but just as it goes higher, just naturally let it go a little bit louder. Just really think about that cool, crisp atmosphere that you're placing the action in on stage. I'll show you a couple of little things. When you have the grace note in the fourth measure, keep it not too fast, more melodic, and the grace notes towards the end too. So they're not really fast and they're also not too slow. They just have to flutter along, nice and delicate. So you heard me play the one, here's the one at the end. So you can use your trill key if you want, but that's more if you're going to go on the faster side of things because the sound quality is a little off. So try to use your real fingering for that. The high B flat, you want to still try to make it soft and delicate. So here's a fingering trick you can use. And it's this here. So you use your thumb, forked fingering here, so no middle finger, first trill key, and then your ring finger here and no pinky. I think if you put your pinky down, it won't come out. Yeah, so it has to have the pinky up. So this is takes a little time to get used to moving to this fingering. Write it above your note, memorize it, I highly recommend it. If you can get it, you won't be nearly as scared of that note popping out and being accented. So when you go from G to this, it's a little bit of a balancing act, but it's worth it. So and I couldn't remember when I was showing you the finger, you do need your B flat thumb key down. That's why it didn't come out the first time. It has to be down. Otherwise it will not come out. So unlike your normal high B flat where you can do it either way, this fancy fingering, you have to have the B flat thumb key down. And then you don't really have to push to get that note out. It just comes right out, and it actually might be a little sharp too, so check with a tuner as well. But that'll help you so you're not so nervous about that one note out of the whole excerpt. And just enjoy making beautiful music. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the courtly airs and dances, the excerpt from the saltarello movement. A saltarello is a type of medieval Renaissance Italian dance. It's characterized by leaps and skips, so it's a bouncy, more energetic type of dance, but it's in older style, so it's not fast or anything like that, but it has some energy to it. So the only accompaniment in the piece here with you is a tambourine and a light drum in the background, but it's on the beats, very steady, very clear. So you want to try to match that clarity of the percussion when you play. So think about a marcato style of articulation. Not quite staccato, but clear with a little bit of space. It's present, but it's not aggressive, so you're not accenting either. Think of a strong mezzo forte. I don't think you have it marked as a dynamic marking right here, but think of a strong mezzo forte. So present, but not in your face, that sort of thing. Practice this with your metronome set on triplets. So that way, whenever you have the quarter note and the eighth note pattern, it's completely accurate. You don't want it to become a dotted rhythm, like this. That's too much for the eighth note, too quick. And you don't want it to go the other way and kind of be a lazy, not quite quarter note, eighth note pattern, so not like this either. You want it to be completely subdivided correctly in that triplet feel. Dance along if you want to also, so really steady. And you can practice by adding eighth notes to your tonguing too, just to have that internal metronome, like this. So that translates to this. So there's bounce, but there's still a good amount of sound on every note. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Dvorak's Symphony No. 8, the excerpt from Movement 4. I love this symphony, I love this excerpt. It's probably my favorite of Dvorak's symphonies, even more than his more famous one, the 9th. So there's a fantastic flute part the whole time, not just the 4th movement. So I highly recommend checking it out and listening to the whole thing. But for this excerpt, it's really exciting. The whole movement's really exciting, energetic, happy, just a wonderful energy in it. It is marked piano, but think of it as like an energetic piano, something with a lot of excitement behind it. And then when you get to the forte, obviously bring it out some more. The forte should be bright and joyous. It's like you let out all your happiness. The breaths are the hard part for this, because you've got to keep everything moving. But you have to breathe. So there's a bunch of places you can breathe. You will have to interrupt a couple slurs, though, to do so. So a couple spots you can easily breathe would be measure 6 between the 8th note and the 16th notes, either spot or both, whatever works for you. First ending and second ending the first time, in the first section. Breathe after the 8th note. It has to be quick so you don't interrupt the flow, but you want to breathe there so you can get through everything else without having to make a really awkward breath. You absolutely want to breathe in the second ending the first time, the first section, second ending, because you want to get through the second half of this excerpt all the way to the dotted quarter note where it's marked forte. You have to make it there, because it's very weird to interrupt it before that. You can sneak in a breath. In your printout here, it should be in the 4th line where it's marked piano again, right after that 8th note. There you can breathe again to get you back around for the repeat, still making it to the forte with the dotted quarter note before your next breath. So you'll see that in the run-through, how I make that all work in there. But those are the places that I recommend. Just program it into you and just do it that way. And as long as you stick to it, you'll be fine. 126 is a really good tempo. Follow that. Practice this with a metronome. You want to come off of all the 8th notes really accurately so that your 16th notes don't get compressed together and sound like you're rushing. You can practice the whole excerpt all tongued if you'd like. You can add 16th notes to the 8th notes to keep yourself on track. It's a good way of practicing as if you're playing with a metronome, even if you're not using one, which you should still. But this is what I mean. So, beginning. And that way you're absolutely sure you're not going too fast into the 16th notes. And then carefully practice each grouping of the slurs that go up and down. Those you want your fingers to be really smooth, especially once you get to the high note every time. And that your fingers are totally coordinated going up and down. No blips. And then especially when you're up high in the second half. So lots of slow practice of select little portions. And then just have fun with this one. Keep it smooth, clear, and energetic. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Garibaldi study number 17. So this is the one with 3 sharps. And for this, it's marked allegro non troppo. So it's quick, fast, moderately fast, but not too much. That's the non troppo part. So I would suggest maybe for quarter notes somewhere in the 90 to 100 range, if you want to practice with a metronome. Throughout the etude, there's a lot of hairpin crescendos and decrescendos. Basically, those follow the contour of the music, mostly. So do them. follow the direction of the phrases with those crescendos and decrescendos. Just try not to overdo them, so nothing pops out too much. Tonguing is really rare in this, but you do have a lot of pairs of slurs. So every time you re-articulate after those slurs, that does have to be really clear, especially because it's a lot of times repeated notes right after each other. So this is in the 4th line, where it's marked piano. I'm exaggerating a little, but that's how you want to practice it, and then once you're up to speed, you can just flow right along. Make sure each tonguing is very crisp, so it's a clear difference from just all the normal slurs you've been doing through the whole etude. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the Garibaldi etude number 19, which is the one with the 3 flats. This one's marked andante, slow, casual, kind of moderate tempo. Pick your tempo based on the 16th notes in the 3rd and 4th line and how comfortable you feel with those. So I would suggest for a dotted quarter note, 54 to 60, somewhere in that range. This is similar to the other Garibaldi etude you have. You want to make sure you use all the dynamics that are written, but don't overdo them. Just keep them as kind of a shaping thing. You want really clear tongue when you do have to tongue. Bring out the accents when they're present. You can use a little vibrato to do that too, so you don't have to just punch it out. That would break the character a little too much. You do have a few accents under slurs, like the end of the very first line. Think of using air attacks for that. So kind of with your abdomen, your diaphragm area, just little extra puffs of air with those notes. So you're almost tonguing, but not really. And then we've got the slur and the staccato underneath right at the very end, just very delicate, light tonguing. So it's still pretty long, but just enough that you can hear your tonguing. Use vibrato throughout. That's really going to help keep this interesting and give some direction besides the crescendos. And this one you can actually use some rubato. If you're not familiar with what rubato is, you can just kind of push and pull with the tempo just a little, just here and there, just to give it a little more interest. So I'll give you an example in the 4th line here with all the 16th notes. So you see that the accented notes I actually made a little longer timing-wise, and then the other ones sped up a little to catch up a little. So can't overdo that either, and if you're not used to it, just kind of feel it out, don't overdo it, but the rubato is something you can use in this type of etude. I hope you found some or all of these thoughts to be helpful as you're working on your music. Best of luck, have fun, and thanks for watching.